So almost 3 months ago now, I played through the first 3 Batman Arkham games, that being Arkham Asylum, City and Origins. I reviewed them quite close together, but then took a little break and checked out other games before returning back to the series for the final entry, Batman Arkham Knight, which is what this video is funny enough all about. Out of all the games, this one was the big one, and of course it did release in 2015, so it is the most recent. Therefore this should mean that you're getting the best version of Batman Arkham with this game, so let's find out. Now there won't be any spoilers of the game in this review, however I will mention some from previous games because this is a sequel to Arkham City, and I definitely recommend you play the other games before this one to then get an understanding of the story, which will make it even more engaging for you. It's quite wild to think that this game is already 8 years old, because judging from the look of this gameplay and the world, it was ahead of its time for sure, and this goes for the whole series to be honest. The game's visuals are actually better than lots of modern day releases. On the topic of the game's world and look, I'll start with the setting. So Arkham Knight takes place in the iconic location of Gotham City on the night of Halloween. The character of Scarecrow, seen in previous titles, is the main leader now, who has now taken over, beginning to threaten the city and its people, rather than Joker because of Arkham City's ending. But as I mentioned, he's the main leader, therefore he does have people alongside him, a prominent one being the Arkham Knight, who Batman faces and actually has more screen time in terms of interaction with Batman. Though what's great about this game's story is that there's so much more meaning to it, especially the underlying plan of Scarecrow, which you learn more about as you play. And the story of course does have lots of unpredictable moments and twists and turns, which I won't say much more about, but obviously it isn't just these two antagonists. The game is filled with iconic villains as usual, who Batman encounters as he's focusing on Scarecrow and the Arkham Knight, but the others just keep getting in the way as seen in previous titles. These characters being Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Penguin, Riddler, Killer Croc, and there's quite a lot of minor ones that are crammed in which may not have a huge role, but spread the game out, and Batman has a fairly unique encounter with each of them for the most part, I would say, and I say that because others could have had a bit more to them, or even just screen time they could have had a bit more. Sometimes it does feel like they're trying so hard to put as many villains as possible, and of course it is the biggest game in the series and it does make it fun and action packed, but others could have been worked on a bit more, and bigger characters like Harley Quinn or Riddler could have a bit more screen time. There's lots of villains who are simply just side missions that don't even need to be done, which is quite good in a way, as for the main story I wouldn't expect Batman to run into every single one of these characters, and the fact that some of the side missions can be lackluster, an example being Deathstroke's encounter, I won't say much more, or they can be quite tedious like with Riddler. Before moving on, I must say the opening scene was one of my favourite openings ever, and it does set the tone really well for not only the game but also the area of Gotham and its character of Scarecrow. Not exaggerating in any way, but I did feel on edge, and the game portrays the civilians of Gotham as terrified with what the city has now become, as they desperately try to escape as quick as possible. Now the gameplay, and more specifically the combat, is my personal favourite out of all the games, following on with free flow combat, but making it a bit more unique with so many moves and takedowns to do, just upgrading with each game. It's fairly easy to get used to, therefore your fights look clean and smooth visually, as well as it actually feeling fluid to perform with no clunkiness. On the surface, some could say it's too easy and powerful, however the aspects that take this down is you encountering so many different enemy types in this game, which was a problem in other games where it can become a bit tedious and repetitive, but with Arkham Knight, the amount of combo moves, environment to implement into your attacks, and overall animation and cool slow-mos, where if that wasn't enough for you already, combine that with all the enemy types you get to use it on, all with their unique fighting style, strengths and weaknesses. The combat never gets old or repetitive, and I loved it. Lots of enemies with strong defenses like shields and armor, or electricity making it hard to fend them off, but then there's also various speeds and agility, all requiring lots of different ways to go into a fight, which makes it all that more satisfying when you defeat them. There's great multiple takedown moves being added onto and always look so clean, but there's also a totally new side of combat and a brand new mechanic, the Batmobile, which we can now do tank battles in and traverse around Gotham in, which is one of the biggest additions in this game and is so fun to use, at least it was for me. The overall vehicle mechanic and control is pretty good and fairly easy to use in terms of turning smoothly. It doesn't jolt right or left. The only aspect that might make it a bit of a challenge is the sheer speed of the vehicle, but after a while you do get to grips with it, and the speed is of course what makes it so fun to traverse around, but also adds to the action when mid-combat. That combined with the armor as well, this thing is an absolute tank, just as it was in the movie, especially with the various car chases, but some other incredible action-packed scenes with explosions, and the environment is implemented really well to make it seem that more immersive. What I mean is the amount of rubble and materials flying everywhere when you crash into them, and I'm surprised that with this being mixed with explosions and missiles shooting at you whilst driving at high speeds, it's crazy to think that it did hold up so well in terms of performance for an almost 9-year-old game. Personally, I didn't experience that much FPS drop, if any at all, and the whole way through I didn't. The game felt smooth to play. As I mentioned, there's combat with the Batmobile as well, where you mainly get involved with tank battles as you enter the vehicle into battle mode, and can use dodge thrusters to quickly dodge incoming missiles, which allows for some satisfying gameplay as you try to miss everyone, as well as getting a chance to shoot back with the built-in machine gun and missile launcher. And as you charge this up by exploding enemies' vehicles, you can perform a special ability like exploding 4 surrounding vehicles in a matter of seconds. But there's also a great amount of customization to upgrade the Batmobile even more if it wasn't already enough, which does add to that variety to vehicle combat so it doesn't get repetitive, as I can see why some players may not like the Batmobile being used as much as it did in this game, because it is an awful lot. However, I'd say it's still fairly balanced out with other mission types. However, it could take away from that superhero game feeling, especially in bigger missions like boss fights, and I can see that. It's not just a Batmobile that can be upgraded with the skill tree. As usual, it's featured in this game with upgrades towards combat, gadgets, your Batsuit, etc. The Batsuit has some great variety to it to enhance the combat even more and switch up the pace a bit better than other games, with not only the amazing look changes, but them having their own unique attributes, whether that be making Batman stronger or faster with it. Now, another aspect of Arkham Knight, which I would say is the best we've ever seen it out of the whole series, would be the open world, which looks incredible and is a great experience to not only play through or fight in, but simply just exploring it when you want to take a break or do some collecting. As I already praised, it's very hard to believe it's a 2015 game. The lighting and weather and prop design is what really enhances the mood of Gotham and its eerie tone, especially with Scarecrow now taking over and making everyone flee the area straight away. It's pretty much always raining as well, and the reflections on the wet ground, the Batmobile and Batman's outfit look so good, especially when gliding around, and the animation, and in driving as well. The variety of props spread throughout the streets, tons of rubbish and smashed up vehicles, piles of rubble and fires, they just make you immerse into the area even more, just enhancing that mood. They've always done a great job at presenting the vibe of Gotham and just hitting the nail on the head, but Arkham Knight achieves it the best. I couldn't imagine what a game released now would look like. I believe that's where I end my review of Batman Arkham Knight in 2023, meaning that is the end of the series of Arkham, and Rocksteady have pretty much confirmed that there won't be any other game, and I'm completely fine with that. I believe they've closed it off perfectly, and even if there were plans, I think it's been way too long now, and we've moved on from that, and now we're on to Gotham Knights and soon Suicide Squad, which I'm really excited for. Now, if you did enjoy this review or found it helpful, then let me know by tapping that like button down below, and if you enjoy story video games, then that's what this channel is all about. I do videos on an array of games with a playlist of a series I've done in the description down below. Lastly, if you'd like to support me by becoming a member of the channel and gain access to various perks, then tap the join button below, or there'll also be a link in the description down below. Thank you for the support and watching until the very end. I do appreciate it. And that was Batman Arkham Knight, and bye bye.